Hey everyone, Vermont Prepper here, and wanted to give a short review without any spoilers for 48 Hours, the new book out by William Forstchen. And I gotta say, I read it fairly quick. It's a very good book, hard to put down. But the thing that I'll say most about it, without giving away any kind of plot, and you can see some of the plot here, I'll go over that later, but the thing that really struck me was how thought-provoking it was. It probably gave some of the most vivid what-if scenarios that you can think of, going into detail on how people would react toward a very significant event that has the potential to do some serious damage to not only the United States, but the rest of the world, and how people would react to that. And I gotta say that I prep quite a bit. It's sort of a lifestyle for me. And I got to thinking that, I've done so much, yet I feel so little prepared for the type of event that happens in the book, that makes you wonder of, like, hey, should you even be worrying about it? Because there's certain things that you can prep for, I believe, and there's certain things that aren't, that you can't. And I've gone through this in previous videos. Like, I think nuclear war is probably one of the hardest things that you can prep for. Who knows where you'll be, even if you had a bunker, right? Who knows where you're going to be when and if a nuclear war happens. You could be on a business trip. Then you're pretty much, unless you can find something deep underground, you're out of luck. So it's not a nuclear war, the event, but it's something that's far more drastic and can do a lot more damage. So it makes you think about how people would react to certain things like this, where you're going to see both the good and the bad in certain people. And I think just like anything in society, whenever there's a crisis, and in my experience, I've been through a couple hurricanes, nothing near, of the magnitude of the event in the book, but I got a sort of a precursor of what a disaster looks like and how people would react. And in my particular experience, I think right after the disaster, right after the hurricane, people are kind of shell-shocked and really are kind of, I guess it's sort of a détente period for a little over, I'd say 2-3 days or whatever. And then as people start to realize that there's not going to be any help coming for a while, that's when you see some take advantage of others, whether it be through looting or price gouging. I remember in Miami, Florida, after hurricane, I saw blocks of ice being sold for $30, $40 per small block. I also saw generators that normally went for $300 to $400 to sell for $3,000 and $4,000. I remember going to Home Depot and people had them out in the parking lot just looking to flip them whenever something would come in, and people would buy them because it was an unprecedented hurricane. It happened to be Hurricane Andrew. It was an unprecedented hurricane, a Category 5, and you start to see some of those people act out in a way that they might not normally act in a general day-to-day circumstance, but desperate measures. I mean, desperate people do desperate things. And while they may be good in a sense of, living their normal everyday family life. What happens when something really significant happens where their livelihood or their way of life or maybe their family's in danger? What happens then? What do you do? What would you do? And I know there's been some research on these kinds of things, and I saw a video recently where I think it was Canadian Prepper video where he cited some research of people doing shocks on other people, and as long as they didn't have to take responsibility for the damage done to these people, the normal person just kept shocking them. So I guess maybe when there's without rule of law, you have a sense of responsibility or lack of responsibility where you can pretty much do whatever you want to do and get away with it. So why live within the norm? Why help others when you can probably get away with doing certain things that you normally wouldn't do in an area with rule of law, like outside the hurricane area? But very thought-provoking. The author, Mr. Forstchen, goes in great detail on what-if scenarios and how people are reacting worldwide. And you see both good and not so good, right? So I would say that, I gave it a 5-star. I thought it was very good, just from a thought-provoking aspect. We hope something like the event that happens in a book never happens, but it does make you think, even though that I consider myself fairly well prepared. I come to question that after this book and wonder what else I can do. But then maybe I have to just kind of resign myself to the fact that I can only do so much. You can't possibly prepare for every single scenario that you can think of, because it'll just make you go crazy and it'll make you go broke. In any event, I just wanted to give that review and didn't want to provide any spoilers, because going into it too much would have definitely given some spoilers. But needless to say, I believe that people will come out of it. And, if you're a prepper, you probably are thinking, wow, what am I doing the right thing? Am I doing too much? Am I doing it for, without any benefit? Or if something happens to this extent, I'm not going to be prepared. So there you have it. I hope that you guys enjoyed the book. I enjoyed it as much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, Vermont Prepper out. And as always, keep prepping.